Hello, my friends. How are you? Oh, let me do a little adjustment here. Some more awesome professionalism from Hunker Dave. Hello, how you doing? Thank you so much for coming by. I've been going around in my head how to approach this video. It's about hiking alone. It ties into David Politis at the end of the video. And I thought the only way to do this video to get my point across is to start from the beginning. I was born in Boston, lived in Dorchester. We moved out of Dorchester, Massachusetts, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. We moved to Brockton, Massachusetts. We lived on the west side of Brockton, which was kind of suburban, ritzy neighborhood, but we lived on a main road in these duplexes, so we were like the bad part of the west side, right? But it was still a beautiful place, forest, woods all over the place, really nice. I kind of lived a dual life growing up. In my mid-teens to late teens, I kind of had I had friends in the suburban area. We'd go out into the woods, build forts, and spent a lot of time in the woods, always with a group. We always had 2 or 3 friends, 4 friends that would all go out in the woods and stuff. I had the other half of my child or mid to late teens in the inner city in Brockton. In the late 80s, early 90s, Brockton was no joke. It was a really bad place, a lot of crime, high crime area. A specific drug had hit the street real bad back then. And so it was no joke walking around downtown Brockton. You had to know, you better know, or at least look like you know what you're doing. If you looked vulnerable at all, you were a target. So when I was with my friends in the inner city, we traveled in a group. Always traveled in a group. At any one time, there was 5 to 10 of us. No lie, no exaggeration. We traveled together. We had rival groups like on the north side and rival groups on the east side. And I hung out on the south side, lived on the west side. And so it was something that you had to be street smart, or at least make it look like you were street smart, right? And when I would hang out with my buddies from the suburban area, that was my woodsy friends. We all hung out in the woods. Again, as I got into my late teens, I got away from that and was running the streets of Brockton, doing stupid stuff. I can't even believe I'm still here today. And I paid for my sins, right, so to speak. And so that's that. I remember walking the streets down in the city, downtown Brockton, through bad neighborhoods, always with a group. We had problems, altercations. It happens. That's just how it is when you grow up in the city. When I was most frightened was out of the group that I hung out with in the inner city, south side Brockton. I was the only one that lived on the outskirts of the city. So when at the end of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was, everyone's like, okay, I'm heading in. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I walked everywhere. I would walk all the way to my buddy's neighborhood and hang out. Well, I had to walk home by myself. And I always was confident walking down the streets in the city. And you better look, like I said, you better look like you own the place, or else you're going to be a victim. So didn't have a lot of problems. A couple times had some issues. People pull over, jumped me, beat me up. It happens. Stuff happens like that. Nothing too serious, just fisticuffs, right? But what really scared me, as I got closer to my neighborhood or my neck of the woods, it started to become a wooded area. That scared me more than walking home down through these bad neighborhoods. I wasn't all that frightened. And again, I didn't look scared. But as I got closer to the wooded area, my mind would start going. It's quiet, no cars around, and I'm walking next to the woods down this road. It was a long road to my house that got more wooded as the closer I got to my house. And it scared me. That's when I was scared. And it was animals, woodland animals. We had a pack of roaming dogs, wild dogs that lived in the woods across the street from my house and whatnot, coyotes. I wasn't worried about people. I was worried about the animals at that point in my walk home all the time. So fast forward, right? About 5 years ago, I got into bushcraft, survival skills and stuff like that. Thanks a lot, Les Stroud from Survivor Man. That's what really got me going into starting to go back into the woods again. Well, I didn't tell anybody about what I was doing. I kind of kept that to myself. I thought people would think I'm crazy. What are you prepping for, right? But I started to teach myself these bush skills, hot fire starting, how to read a map, how to read a compass, just collecting all kinds of hiking gear. Behind me, I've got all kinds of hiking gear, first aid, etc. And I started to go out into the forest. Once I couldn't practice these things in my backyard, I wanted to go into the right where I needed to practice them, which was in the woods. So my first time going out when I wanted to practice these skills, I bought a backpack, and I have thousands of dollars in gear now I've collected. But back then I had my stove, and I was addicted to knives. And I would go out, my first time out, I went out a half a mile. I was scared to death. I mean, I'm like, what am I doing out here in the woods all by myself? I had to settle myself down, right? I get out there, practice my skills a little bit. All of a sudden, the realization that I'm by myself out in the woods would hit me from time to time, and I would have to talk myself down from it. Excuse my voice. I've been ill. Me and my daughter have been sick. The coronavirus is what she says, but so forgive me. I have the sniffles. I have a cough. So what happened, now I started to get into hiking more. And I would go a little bit further each time, a little bit further, just kind of dip my toe in a certain forest. Once I got familiar with my surroundings, I would go further and further and further. And these little 1 mile hikes turned into these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mile hikes. I started to go for distance, right? I wanted to push myself. You know, when I felt like, okay, this is about as much as I can take. I've done 2 miles into the woods. Now, when I first started backpacking, that's like this massive expedition, right? I mean, 2 miles by myself in the woods. I mean, I'm a big guy, 6'4", 270, and I wasn't afraid of being jumped out there. You know, if someone had come along and wanted to attack me, they have to be prepared to be injured. Like, you can't just. I was convinced that my worry out in the forest was animals. Was not worried about another person. That did not cross my mind. Again, grew up in the city. I could handle myself. Would like to think that I can. And so I used to think, if somebody ever attacked me, you know what I mean? Put them up, right? I'll fight back. I'm not going to be a victim like that. So I started to more and more and more go out further and further and further. And that, as I got to that point where I could go out 3 miles into the woods, right? That's a 6-mile round trip. I started to feel vulnerable when I was out that far. Again, animals, not people. That was not my worry. Now, we're going to fast forward a little more to a couple years ago. I started to get really comfortable being out in the forest, and I didn't worry so much. Once in a while, it would enter my mind, but I would push that back. You know, it's like if you're driving a car on the highway and you're worried about a big, huge collision on the highway, you drive differently. If you're a roofer and you do roofing and you constantly thinking about falling off the roof, it's going to affect what you're doing, and you'll be less safe that way. You can't think like that. In my line of work, I'm an iron worker. I can't think of falling off the edge of a building. It's going to affect my job performance. Same thing with the woods. If you are worried about falling and breaking an ankle, or, you know, you're unsure of what you're doing, you need to push that back in your mind. Now, I worry today most about my hiking alone before my hike and after. Very rarely during my hike except for Sasquatch related, I do sometimes feel watched. I feel nervous. That's different. That's different. What I'm talking about is now I'm going to circle around to missing people in the forest. I have been looking into that or researching, excuse me, researching that more the past couple of years of people that go missing. And I'm talking about missing. I mean never found again. Hardcore backpackers, hardcore survivalists, guys that's hunters that have been hunting since they were little, that even know the terrain really well, that go completely missing. I'm talking about gone. That scares me. So I get a lot of comments from you guys that you tell me you shouldn't hike alone, and I'm nervous for you or I'm afraid for you. Think of David Politis, the 411 missing, and listen, guys, I do think about it. I never used to carry an item on me where I could protect myself. A knife. I always carried a knife. That was for bushcraft stuff. It wasn't to defend myself. I never felt the need that I had to defend myself in the woods, except a pack of coyotes. And I always thought to myself, I'll fight. I will fight 5 or 6 coyotes, literally street fight them bad Larrys. I think I understand that Mother Nature's Mother Nature, and if I got attacked by a huge gang of coyotes, I'd probably be in serious trouble. But I always felt I can handle myself. So when I have been listening to these stories of these missing people, not just in North America or Canada, all over the globe, that this phenomenon, right, of these people that are just disappearing and no sign of them, hundreds of people searching for them, helicopters and people on the ground, and they've never seen again. Not even finding anything, or sometimes they'll find boots or clothes, but that makes me nervous. I do understand that. And recently, hiking with Josh, for instance, has spoiled me a little bit, where when he has other things to do now, and I've been going out by myself again, I am very, very aware. Like the first time I went out hiking by myself, after me and him had been hiking together for a couple of months, I was back. It was like square one. I got out into the woods, and I only went a quarter of a mile or a half a mile, and I was totally aware of that. I'm completely by myself, and I had to shake that off and not think about it. You can't think about it. And I've been hiking alone again. Now, again, in southeastern Mass, when I first started my channel, I really didn't want to carry protection other than a knife. And I'm just going to word it that way, about carrying protection other than a knife. And it was just, I felt okay with it. I really did. And 2 years ago, when I first started my channel, is when I started to pay attention to the missing 411. And I started to think, man, that's scary. That really is frightening. I'm glad it happens in other places, not near me. And I had this false sense of security that I'm not hiking in Yellowstone. I'm not on, Devil's Ridge or whatever, all these crazy sounding places where these people go missing. And when I moved up here to New Hampshire, I did some research, and I realized up here that's a different story. There's a lot of missing people up here. Some are found and some have yet to be found, and it has creeped now back into my mind. Again, I don't like to think about it when I'm out there, but it's something I think about after and before, just like my job. It's a very dangerous job. Those of you who are iron workers, I know some of my friends that are iron workers that watch my channel. You know what I'm talking about. You can't think about it while you're working, or else you're gonna hurt yourself. And I carry that over to hiking. I don't like to think about it while I'm there, every sound and noise that you hear is going to freak you out. And I'm already freaked out because Bigfoot's watching me and I just know he is, right? I kid about that, but a lot of the times I feel that I'm being watched or followed and such and things like this, right? So please I want you guys to understand that, leave comments like that. I appreciate your concern and I'm with you. I worry about myself hiking alone, but I do believe that with experience, you can eliminate some of the issues, such as getting hurt. I think I'm very careful. I don't put myself in risky situations, such as large river crossings. I leave an itinerary where I'm going, when I expect to be back. I think that's very, very important. I can't stress that enough. There were times back in the day where I just went willy-nilly. I would see a spot, just stop, park, and hike miles. Nobody knew where I was. And I've learned over time now that even if it's in a state park, people tend to get this false sense of security in a state park that, oh, you're on hike trails and everything's fine. Listening to some of these stories of missing backpackers, hunters and stuff, they're on a main trail, a straight main trail. There's no dangerous obstacles. There's no cliffs. I'm not in grizzly bear country. There are predators up here that I didn't have to worry about when I was in southeastern Massachusetts. But nonetheless, it's still, if you are aware of what you're doing and aware of your surroundings, things can still happen. And I understand that. I really do. I understand that. But now when you add another element into it, such as a hiking partner, if I had my choice, I'd hike every day. My dream job would be like a park ranger or something. I would love to or be part of the forestry service. That would be my just ultimate dream, right? But that's not going to happen for me. I do what I do, and that's all there is to it. So if I could hike every day, like I said, I would. A lot of the times, the weekend comes, if I'm not working, I want to go hiking. A weekend comes, I want to go hiking. If I have to worry about someone else's itinerary and say, I got to be back by 3 because I got to do this. You know what? I got to be back before the sun goes down. When I hike, I plan that hike. The whole day is mine. It's just for me. And that is what I love about hiking by myself. And what comes with that is the potential for something to happen, whether it be falling down and getting injured, attacked by an animal of some sort, or some craziness where I just disappear. And the not knowing how these people go missing is what makes me nervous. And I just discovered that David Politis has a channel called the Can-Am Project or something like that. And I was just watching some of his videos and I got all freaked out because, and this is kind of how I'm circling back. I'm aware that it's dangerous. I get it. But I'm not going to sit in the house and think, well, I don't want to get disappeared in the woods, so I'm not going to go in the woods anymore. No way, Jose, am I going to let something like that deter me from doing what completely frees my mind. It just, forget about Bigfoot. Okay? The forest makes me feel free. And Sasquatch, my Sasquatch exploration is just a plus, an added plus. That's just something else that drives me. And it puts me in the forest probably more than I normally would even go. Because I'm just so darn curious. I want answers. There's so many questions. But to have to rely on someone else's schedule is very difficult. If I had to wait for Josh, for him to have the time to hike with me, I wouldn't have been in the woods for the past month or whatever, 3 weeks. I don't know how long it's been since he's had other things going on. I'm not doing that. I will not rely on someone else. And that was why I love to hike alone. And I want to explain that to a lot of you guys out there, that I hear you. I am with you. I understand that you guys tell me to be careful and you know, and all this. I get it, and I appreciate it more than you could ever imagine. And I love having you guys that really genuinely care. You know, you don't know me personally. You know, I don't know you guys personally, but I do understand that you guys feel like you know me. It's tough because you guys get to watch my videos and stuff, and you get to kind of know my, you know, I'm not a very, very serious person in general. I love to make fun of myself. I'm not, no one's perfect. But I do believe that you guys have a genuine concern for my safety. And I appreciate that more than you know. And I read the comments, and I really, really enjoy the feedback. All of your comments are awesome. And I've said it 100 times. That's why I love this channel, is the feedback. And I feel like I know some of you guys. A lot of you people that watch my channel, I get consistent comments from you guys. A whole bunch of you that I really, really enjoy talking back and forth. Like, I feel like some of you I'd like to hang out with or go hiking with. But I want to explain to you guys, I don't have a death wish or anything like that. I don't want to be disappeared in the woods. I got a lot ahead of me that I look forward to. And I'm not that old. I'm only 50, which is, you know, it's just not that old. It may seem when you're 25, I'm an old timer. But at 50 years old, I don't feel 50. I'm in decent shape. I can hike miles and miles and miles. And I have a lot to look forward to, future hikes and stuff like that. But I want you to understand, as a lot of you guys that comment, I hear you. I don't want anything to happen to me either. So the ways that I combat that is to let people know where I'm going, close family and friends. They know when I go out, and I want to relay that to you guys. I appreciate you, and I really do. But there's something about hiking alone that you can't buy it on the street. To put yourself in an environment for the potential of danger. It's just a rush. It really is. And I think a lot of you may say, come on, Dave, you're only just walking through the woods. Yes, I am just walking through the woods. And there is a rush to it. There's a rush to the fact that I am on my own, and I have to rely on myself and my knowledge and my skills to be able to come home, right? Anyways, I hope I kind of filled you guys in on my take on why I don't mind so much hiking alone. But I am with you in thinking, if I ever do disappear, you know, I would hope it's nothing nefarious. Let's say that. Let's just hope it's my mistake, and that I disappeared doing what I love. And I know I always hate that. Oh, he died doing what he loved. Listen, I don't want to die at all. If I had my way, I'd live through 189, and I'd still be hiking with my walker and just be a grumpy old dude out in the woods. But I also want to let you know that I don't go out unprepared. I do have backup plans when I go out into the forest. Thank you guys so much for clicking. And if you stuck it out this whole video, kudos to you, and I appreciate it. And I'll definitely see you guys on the next one.